volunteer as a research associate at an organization called COSTEM, which is Connecting African Women in STEM. About my education background, I studied at Strathmore University and I studied BBIT. I'm also a certified security professional, and just recently I earned my first penetration testing certification. So, yeah, that's a little bit about me. And if you like to connect with me, my username on Twitter is WatiriBossBabe, and on LinkedIn, I'm Mary Campbell. Yeah. So, with that, I guess we're ready to begin now. So, today's agenda is very, very brief. I'll guide you guys on cybersecurity foundations, a little bit about the threat landscape, and finally, some of the best practices that you can implement to stay safe online. So, I had this really cool idea that before I begin all the presentation, and it's maybe boring, I could make it engaging. And I will just love for us to play Kahoot. I have a couple of questions. They're very, very easy. Plus, it's meant to be fun. So let me just share the Kahoot page, and then we could begin. So to join, just visit this website. And then it will ask you for the game pin, and then you can type this pin. Let me paste it in the chat. Okay, let's just wait for a few more players, and then we'll begin in a minute. Okay, great. So how the game works is that we have 9 questions, and each question has a timer of about 20 seconds. So what you do is the question will be presented on the main screen, and then you'll tap the color that you think has the correct answer. So yeah, let's do this. Hope you're ready. There goes the first question. What is cyber safety? Awesome. So 6 people got it correct. Cyber safety is protecting yourself from online harm. Next question. Great. So personal information is all of this. Information about your age and school, your family, and information that can identify you. So let's move on. Amazing. You guys are really good at this, huh? That was a bit tricky, but you guys really nailed it. So let's go to the next question. That's amazing. I see people are really gunning a lot of points. Wow. Gava is really killing it. Okay. We have to. Yeah, so phishing is definitely pretending to be someone else and not going to catch fish in the lake. Yeah. Malware is the type of virus that can harm your computer or your device. Then lastly, yeah, so that was amazing. Congratulations, Zoro. Congrats, John Doe. Thank you guys for participating in this game. We have our runners up as well. That was amazing. And I think I have a gift for the top three. Yeah. But we'll liaise with Shakira on that. So the aim of the quiz was just to gain an understanding on how well aware you are about cybersecurity concepts, and evidently you guys are amazing. So kudos for that. So back to the main agenda. Our first topic of the day is basically an introduction to cybersecurity, where we'll be covering the foundational concepts. So the first thing is, what is cybersecurity? So this is generally the practice of protecting your systems, your networks, your programs from digital attacks. And usually the goal is to compromise the confidentiality, integrity, and availability of data. So confidentiality means that no one else is able to access your data, like as long as they've not been authorized to do that. Integrity refers to the concept of this data not being tampered with, whether it's at rest, whether it's at transit, or whether it's in storage. And then the availability concept of cybersecurity, it means that authorized users are able to access this information whenever they need to access it. And then we need to understand the threat landscape, and this is actually very, very huge. So threat landscape refers to basically threat actors and the different tactics that these threat actors use. So threat actors can be hackers, it can be hacktivist groups, it can also be state-sponsored groups. Yeah. And then usually their tactics and techniques range from malware to social engineering attacks to ransomware and advanced persistent threats. So, in this era, which has been defined by digital connectivity, it's important that we prioritize cybersecurity, because it's literally the bedrock that shields our personal information, it ensures financial stability, and it preserves our online reputation. And then I also wanted us to cover some of the common cyber threats. And there, there are many categories of cyber threats, but in this case, I only mentioned 4 because they're the most common ones. So the first one is malware, and malware refers to malicious software that has been designed to disrupt, damage, or gain unauthorized access to a computer system. And then another cyber threat is phishing, and this is very, very common. Actually, I dedicated more slides for us to cover phishing attacks. So we'll talk more about them in the next slides. And then we have the ransomware. And basically, ransomware is malware that encrypts your data, and these hackers demand payment for them to release the data to you. And most times, even when you pay the ransom, you still never get your data. So, yeah. And then we also have social engineering, which is basically exploiting the human psychology to manipulate individuals into divulging confidential information. And actually, phishing is a form of social engineering. So, yeah, let's cover phishing. Uh, Phishing is when somebody tries to trick you into revealing your personal information like your passwords, your credit card numbers, or social security numbers. And phishing can happen through emails, it could happen over text message, it could even happen over phone call, and you could even be phished on your social media platform like Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat. Yeah. So I would like somebody to answer this in the chat. Like, think of an email or a message that you've ever received from somebody asking for your personal information. What made it suspicious to you? Or if you're able to unmute, you could just unmute your mic and talk, share your experience. Their profile. What about their profile?
Hello.
Hey.
Yeah. So, uh, talking about the profile, referring to social media platforms such as Instagram, whereby like you have someone who pretends to be like a different another organization, and then they text you, and then they request for information. But if you look at their profile, like you find not everything clicks, although it's somehow a replica of the organization, the real organization, let's say Instagram account. Yeah, so let's say maybe the type of interaction in their posts and the way maybe you think this organization should have more interaction, then you find like this has, let's say, 2 or 3 likes, then you're wondering how.
Yeah,
Something like that, yeah.
that's definitely suspicious. Adrian also said too many typos. Yeah, that's very, very suspicious. Jesse said a person claims to be calling from a company asking for personal details, but the phone number is not the official call line the company has registered. Yeah, that's very true, and this is very, very prevalent. So, moving on, we have different types of phishing, as I'd mentioned before. We have the email phishing. This is where scammers send fake emails pretending to be a trustworthy organization. We also have the SMS phishing. You can also refer to it as smishing. And this is where scammers send text messages with fake links or request for your personal information. And then we have social media phishing. We have literally just spoken about this right now, where scammers create fake profiles or posts to trick you into to trick you into clicking links or sharing your personal information. And there's also one I didn't put here, the vishing, which is the voice phishing. And Jesse said it. A person claims to be calling from a company. They ask for your personal details and all of that. So these are some of the red flags that you should actually look out for. And red flags are the warning signs or the indicators that can help you to identify a potential scam. So some of them are such as the urgent or threatening language. There's suspicious sender information. There's also request for your personal information. There's also the misspellings or grammatical errors. And Adrian said it too many times first. There's also suspicious links or attachments, generic greetings, and most of the time what they're telling you is too good to be true. So we'll actually look at these red flags in detail. So in the first one, the urgent or threatening language. So usually such types of phishing attempts will create a sense of urgency, or they will use threatening language to prompt immediate action. So you'll find phrases such as urgent action required, or your account has been suspended, or your account will be deleted. So when you see such messages, of course, you're curious to know like what's happening to my account, and that's how they catch you. Then the second red flag is the suspicious sender information. So it's advisable that you always check the sender's email address or their social media profile, because most of the emails or these messages will use generic or like really really suspicious email addresses that do not match the legitimate entity they claim to represent. So you could find like instead of uh the official email from Microsoft, somebody has like really tweaked it. They've put an I, they've put a one instead of an I. I mean, it's very, very small details, but you really have to keep your eye open. And then the third one is the request for personal information. And as we all know, legitimate organizations will never request for your personal information, such as your username or your password, your credit card numbers, especially via email or social media. And this is actually quite common with banks. Like, banks will never ask you for this information, but when hackers are really trying to get your personal information, most of the time they'll pretend that your account has been hacked, you need to change your password. And the moment you type in this information in their links, that's it. Like, that's another story. And then the next flag is the misspellings or the grammatical errors. And these are very, very common. I mean, yeah, the emails and their messages will contain a lot of misspellings, a lot of grammatical errors, or awkward phrasing. So, yeah, like when you see that, just flag it down, because yet again, a proper organization has professional communicators, and obviously, they will not contain obvious errors. And then the fifth one, which is the suspicious links or attachments. Uh, we need to be cautious of the links or attachments in emails or messages from unknown sources. It's always good to hover over the links to check their actual destinations before clicking on it. And it's advisable that you do not click on suspicious links or download attachments that you are not expecting. And then the next flag is the generic greetings. And phishing emails, they will use generic greetings like "dear customer" instead of addressing you by your name. Yeah, so when you see that, that's that's suspicious. So just flag it down already. Legitimate organizations will often personalize their communication with your name or other relevant information. And then lastly, it can be too good to be true. So phishing attempts may lure individuals with enticing offers such as winning a prize or getting a huge discount. So if an offer seems too good to be true, it may be a phishing attempt. And actually, this is very common, especially on WhatsApp. You find in groups, you find people sending links. Hey, you've just won a pizza from Pizza Hut or whatever, or you've won a new iPhone. I mean, that's too good to be true. No one will just give the entire world free iPhones like that. Yeah. So anyway, I would like us to share our experience here and think about this. Which of these 7 red flags do you think is the hardest to detect? And what makes you say like it's hard to detect? So please share. For me, I'd say the red flag that is a bit hard to detect will be the suspicious links or attachments. And the reason I say that is because at times you could be on your phone, so it's not easy for you to hover over the link, especially when it's a hyperlink. So yeah, Fidel said, "Too good to be true." Why'd you say that? Also, Abigail said, "For someone who is not aware, too good to be true is the main." Yeah, I agree. And actually, no wonder you find so many people sharing this too good to be true messages with everyone else. Because, I mean, when you say it, the first thing that comes to your mind is excitement. Like, oh my God, I just won this. So, yeah, I agree with you guys. That's a good one. So, I have 2 examples here, and I'm going to read them out for everybody, and then you could identify which form of phishing it is and what red flags make it a phishing attempt. So, in the first example, you come across a pop up window while browsing a website that asks you for your credit card information to claim a prize or discount within the next 10 minutes. The website looks legitimate, but you only have 10 minutes to submit your personal information. So could you guys identify what are some of the red flags in this example? Yeah, Anita said the urgency. That's true. Can you spot another red flag? The pop-up. Yeah, the Jesse said urgency, too good to be true, and personal details. Yeah, that's correct. And then we have the second example. You receive a message on social media from someone claiming to be a friend or family member, asking for your address and phone number. You've never met this person, and don't see photos of them with your family or friends. What are some of the red flags in this example? Yeah, so Wamui Washira said personal details despite you not knowing them. Very, very true. Anita said asking for personal details. That's also very suspicious. Joy said no photos of them with your family or friends. Exactly. Because this is a complete stranger. So you guys did amazing. Now, the next thing is about how to report phishing attempts. So, if you suspect that you're being phished, it's important for you to report it to a trusted adult. Could be your teacher, it could be the school's IT department. And it's important that you don't forward this phishing email or message to another user. What you can do, if you really have to share the message, you can show them on your device, because forwarding these phishing emails or messages, it could lead to others being phished. So yeah, reporting phishing attempts will help protect others from falling victims to these scams. And then lastly, it's important for you to think critically. And by this, it refers to being skeptical of emails, messages, or posts that may seem too good to be true or too urgent. Remember, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. And then think before clicking on any links, sharing personal information online, or opening any suspicious attachments. Ask yourself if it seems legitimate and if you are expecting it. And then lastly, always verify the authenticity of the sender and the information provided before taking any action. Always trust your instincts and be cautious when you're sharing information online. So now moving on to our next agenda, I would love for us to cover some of the strategies for staying safe and secure online. And the first one, as per usual, is creating strong passwords. Um, there's some there's some password best practices that you can always practice. In cybersecurity, we also refer to them as cyber hygiene. And the first one is using a very strong password. It should have a minimum of 8 characters. But nowadays, the cybersecurity community realized that 8 characters is not enough and it can be easily hacked. So if you can manage to have 12 characters, then you have higher rates of being secure, or rather it will take a long time before a hacker can crack your password. And I bet some of you are probably asking, how can I have 12 characters in a password? Like, I probably won't even remember that. So you can use a passphrase. And a passphrase could be something like, um, I loved watching Barbie. You see, that's a lot of characters. And you can also like play around with it, like include numbers in this particular passphrase. Like instead of using I, you could use number 1. Instead of using the letter E, you could use the 3. Instead of using the letter O, you could use the number 0. Yeah, so forth and so forth. So basically, if you're gonna use a passphrase, let it not be weak. Like play around with numbers, play around with special characters like full stops, exclamation marks, and that will guide you. Also, another best practice is using password managers. Like if you don't want to keep remembering your passwords, password manager will help you with that. Yeah, another cyber hygiene practice is using two-factor authentication. And two-factor authentication is adding an extra layer of security by requiring you as a user to provide two forms of identification before accessing an account. So, types of authentication factors could be something that you know, and in this case, it's a password or a PIN. It could also be something that you have, like a mobile device or a security token. And lastly, it could be something that you are. So this is biometrics, like could be your fingerprint, could be your facial recognition scan, could be like an iris scan. Yeah. So basically, now you combine your password with any of these factors, something you know, something you have, or something that you are. And nowadays, two-factor authentication is very, very common. When you check the privacy settings of your social media accounts or websites that you visit, most of the time they have this added layer of security. So it's important that you turn it on. And then I would love for us to talk about passkeys. And for this, we'll just watch this 3-minute video.
Passwords have been around for a long time, but they're a pain for your users and a liability for you as a developer. Strong passwords are difficult to remember, so many people don't bother creating strong passwords, or they reuse the same password for everything. Password managers help here. Google Password Manager, for example, generates a strong password, autofills it to the right domains and apps, and synchronizes it across devices. But the reality is, not all users rely on password managers. On top of that, passwords are just not very secure. Two-factor authentication does improve security, but it adds extra steps for users and costs you money. But it doesn't have to be like that. You can start the journey away from passwords and make your users' digital lives easier and more secure with passkeys. Passkeys are a simple and secure cross-device authentication technology that enables creating online accounts and signing into them without entering a password. On sites and apps that implement passkeys, the browser or operating system shows users a prompt to create a passkey. Users only need to use the screen lock on their device, such as touching the fingerprint sensor, to continue. There is no need to type or remember anything. Then, to log into an account, users are simply shown a prompt to unlock their device. Sites that have implemented passkeys are seeing a number of benefits, such as higher login success rates, reduced drop-off rates, increased conversion rates, and reduced costs of separate two-factor authentication solutions. Signing in with passkeys provides strong protection against phishing and data breaches, two of the biggest security threats that passwords fail to prevent. Passkeys work with public key cryptography. A passkey is a private key stored securely on the device. It's created when using the screen lock functionality, fingerprint, facial recognition, PIN, or pattern. The matching public key is stored on the server. Because no secret is stored on the server, passkeys are not vulnerable to server breaches like passwords are. Each passkey can only be used for the same service it's created on, so users can't be tricked into using their passkey to sign into a sketchy app or website. Since logging into a site or an app is done by using the screen lock, a passkey replaces a password and a second factor in a single step. Passkeys already work on most browsers and operating systems. When a user creates a passkey for a website on their phone, the phone's credential provider can back it up and synchronize to other devices. For example, if a user sets up a new Android device with the same Google account, Google Password Manager will have all their passkeys ready to use. Passkeys can also be used on devices they are not synchronized to, through the hybrid protocol. For example, a user can use a passkey on their Android phone to log into a website on their friend's macOS computer by scanning a passkey QR code. To prevent remote attacks, the two devices will connect to each other locally, ensuring that they are physically close. We are well on the way to a passwordless future. By implementing passkeys today, you get better security, a better user experience, and happier users. For more details on passkeys and how to implement them, check out our documentation.
So yeah, passkeys is basically a code that you can use when you don't want to use your password. And passkeys are actually the future of passwordless authentication. So next, I would love for us to look at some of the tips that you can use when you want to stay safe on the internet. So we are basically going to cover like 3 themes, which is safe browsing habits, public Wi-Fi security, and lastly, the role of VPNs. So every time you're navigating a website, there's some browsing habits that are important for you to consider every single time. So the first one is keeping your software updated. Always regularly update your browsers and plugins to patch vulnerabilities. And then you need to also verify the website security. Look for websites that have the HTTPS and the padlock symbol to ensure encrypted connection between you and that particular website. And then beware of suspicious links, avoid clicking on unfamiliar links, and be cautious with email attachments. We'd already covered this on the phishing. And then utilize your browser security settings. So always adjust your privacy and security settings for enhanced protection. And then now we're going to look at some of the habits when you're using a public Wi-Fi. So most importantly, avoid sensitive transactions. So refrain from conducting financial transactions or accessing sensitive information every time you're on a public Wi-Fi. And then use encrypted websites. As I'd mentioned before, always look for HTTPS for that added security layer. And then enable firewall protection by activating your device's firewall to create an additional layer of defense. And then lastly, turn off sharing, like disable file and printer sharing to minimize exposure to potential threats. And then now we're going to cover the role of VPNs in safeguarding your online presence. So VPNs encrypt internet traffic, thereby preventing unauthorized access to data. VPNs also mask your IP address, which enhances your online privacy and anonymity. And then VPNs are ideal for secure data transmission and communication over public networks because they will protect you against eavesdropping. And then lastly, VPNs will also enable you to access geo-restricted content. So, for instance, you want to access a website, but you can't view it from Kenya with a VPN. It can help you to bypass these geographical restrictions and access the content securely. So, we've come to the end of this session. Thank you guys for being a wonderful audience, for listening, for sharing your experiences. It was really, really amazing, and I enjoyed every minute of it. Oh, over to you, Shakira. Oh, in case there's any question, you could also type it in the chat or unmute and ask. I would recommend Bitwarden. You could Google also has a password manager. You could use that as well. And yeah, there are other free password managers like LastPass, OnePass. Yeah. Abigail asked, in the case where you've given your personal details, how can you recover them? That's a bit difficult. It's a bit difficult for you to recover, especially maybe when you filled out a Google form and it was it requested for your information. Now you can't really recover that. Yeah. That's why you have to be really, really careful before you share your personal information. Richard said, I use KeePass XC. It's nice and free. Yeah, that's good. Oh, there's a question here. Kevin asked, are there practical sessions? I guess Shakira is in a better position to answer that. But if you guys would love, we could plan for another practical session and I could actually show you how these things are done. Can you simulate a phishing attack for educational purpose on a different day? Maybe even the ones that bypass 2FA. Yeah, I'd love to do that. So we could plan for that.
I guess Shakira has a technical issue. Or am I the one who is not hearing?
No, I couldn't hear her as well.
Yeah, okay, yeah. So Shikra saying that. Thank you, Mary, for the presentation, for the practical sessions, and yeah, learn how to hack ethically. So yeah, thank you so much. And if